how's it going, everyone? Welcome back. This is the JR Wisdom channel. I appreciate you guys tuning in once again for another one of my videos. Today, I'm going to be discussing what I learned from getting divorced in my 30s. So, for those of you who may not know or who may not have been following my recent videos, I basically explained what I learned from being married for 10 years. So, in this one, I'm going to be covering what I learned from getting divorced in my 30s. So, if you don't know, divorce is not the easiest thing. For those of you who may have been through it and may have had an easy time getting through it, I was not one of the ones. I believe I had a unique case, so I'm going to kind of delve into that, and I hope I don't make this video too long for your liking. But I'm going to just touch on basically some background on it and basically what I learned afterwards and here moving forward. And the biggest thing is I'm glad that it did happen in my 30s as opposed to my 20s or 40s or 50s, because I don't know what my situation would have been. We never know what our situations are, but the older you are, in my opinion, it's kind of not as easy as it would be if you're younger. So a little background on my situation, if you haven't watched my other videos that I'll link here, is that I was married for roughly a little over 10 years, and it took me 2 years to get divorced. It wasn't amicable. My wife left me at the time. She left me to pursue her own dreams, so on and so forth. And I was left taking care of the kids, my 3 sons, by myself. So what I did was I filed for divorce from her, because after going through the boo-hooing and come back and all this stuff like that, she refused to come back. She refused to help out or whatever. So I filed for divorce and went through it. That's its own trial and ordeal for those of you who don't have an amicable divorce. She refused to sign the paperwork. A year later, got thrown out because she refused to sign the paperwork, even though she had already moved on and was doing her thing in the streets, so on and so forth. This isn't about, trying to speak ill on her, but the fact of the matter is she moved on. She moved on, was doing her thing, even had a boyfriend, or was in a few relationships to my understanding, and she just refused to sign the paperwork. So basically it took me filing again. I had to file for divorce a second time, go through all this foolishness just to finally get divorced after negotiating and negotiating and negotiating. That's one of the reasons why I'll never get married again, based off that. So with that being said, I'm glad that I had to experience that one time. I understand what it's like to be married, and I am so happy that it's finally over, because when I was in the thick of it, I was just like, oh my God, just constantly praying for, night after night for it to be over, and the fact that you are no longer with this person who you thought you were in love with, who was your partner, and you are trying to move on in your own way and get over it, and they're out there, you don't know what they're doing, and you're thinking about who they're with, so on and so forth, and there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing you can do about it, but just sit there and take it. So it had to be one of the worst ordeals of my life, and one of the biggest eye-opening points in my life, which I am so happy for. I'm happy. And you can say, if you guys are going through it or have been through it, you can say, man, this is horrible. How can you say it was one of the best things of my life? It helped me to ascend to where I'm at now. I learned so much about myself. Patience is obviously not one of those things, but just dealing with, the legal system and the court system, and you see how it's a racket and how they make money playing off of people's emotions, attorneys playing off of people's emotions, outside entities, friends of certain people, your friends, how people turn their back on you, and how people choose sides, and people go out of their way to slander you and things like that. It's just crazy. So I definitely learned to, more so than before, because even before I was kind of like watching after myself and very cautious about who I let into my life. But even after this, I was even more on point as far as who I even speak to or let in my circle and things like that. I learned heartbreak for the first time. Basically, that was something, an ordeal in itself, of having to deal with these emotions that I never knew existed, and that separation anxiety, and just that attachment is like what are they saying, like ripping thorns from wool, or briar patch, or briars or thorns from wool. It was just that hard as far as getting over that initial attachment. But there's a saying that as a man, you don't become a man until you go through that heartbreak. That's when you officially become a man. Up until that point, I mean, you may think, hey, I'm the strongest man on this earth. But when you go through that, sheesh, good night. I'm telling you, it's no joke. So I'm so happy for that. Anything that has come after that, it is what it is. You may have to go through it a couple times, because I did have a situation after that with a breakup that basically, I was completely head over heels over this girl as well, and I had to get myself back together, and study the red pill stuff and all of these things that you come to know me for, that I'm talking about, that I've experienced firsthand. And basically, it's at the point where I basically almost 100% mastered detachment at this point. And there's nothing that a woman in a relationship, or any interaction I have with a woman, that can really do to me that will really surprise me or get me off center, because I've already been down that route. And pretty much, if you read my book, and the link is in the description, that I've pretty much been through one of the worst things, the worst situations in terms of this, that you could really go through in terms of a divorce and things going on. Because with my situation with divorce, I had just come off of another huge blow in my life that had happened to me prior to this. Then I got back up, got a nice, well-paying contracting job, came back, and then this happened. So I had just come off of pretty much back to back. This is two big blows hitting me. You know what I mean? So that was something in itself, and I'm so happy it happened in my early 30s when it did happen, even though it was super painful. So, and knowing that, like I said, knowing that this is your spouse, that's actually, and it's not up for question, actually is going through your mind, and you knowing for sure that your spouse, someone who you're married to, is sleeping with other people. As a man, it's just one of the worst things. I'm pretty sure as a woman, it hurts a lot too, but definitely good night. It was horrible. So that was one thing I had to come to terms with, and realize that you can't make anybody do anything that they don't want to do. So with that being said, the next thing I learned after it was all said and done is that when you're going through a divorce, you think that it's the end of the world, but it's really not. It's really the end of that relationship that you had with that person, and life goes on. Life goes on, no matter what. If you are losing everything, which I didn't come out too bad on my end, but if you're losing property, if you're losing all your possessions, if you're losing a job, if you're going through all these different things that come with a divorce, losing your children, so on and so forth, you have to stay whole and realize that life goes on. The sun is going to shine every day. I know that's so cliche, but the sun is going to shine every day. You have to get up. There's days where I didn't want to get out of bed. I was just like, oh my goodness, man, woe is me. You want to talk about it all the time. But once you get that armor, once you get that bulletproof armor, or bulletproof heart, so to speak, man, it's over. It's a wrap. So life goes on. And just realizing that I had to come to terms and learn that who you start with doesn't necessarily mean that's who you're going to end with. This life, you never know. What is it, a box of chocolates or whatever? You never know what's going to happen. You never know. Just because when you say I do to this person, you think that you're going to be with them forever, but that's not necessarily the truth. Divorce rate is at an all-time high, and things like that. But you have to realize that you may, even though you might fight for it and work for it, it may not be the person you end up with. You may end up with several other people. You know what I mean? That's just how life is. You may end up with several other people. And you just have to come to terms with that this may not be the ultimate person that you end up with at the end of the day. So there's always going to be someone out there for you. There's always going to be someone out there or several people that will love you, and people think that there won't be, and it's the end of the world, especially women who are in relationships. And not to say that women don't do this to men, but I've heard from a lot of women that men tell them there's no man gonna want you, blah blah blah. After this, you did this, your body looks like this, you've had this many kids. Oh my goodness, who says that to a woman? Do you know that this is a woman, dude? This is a woman. What do you mean no man's gonna want her? Like, are you serious? It's the dumbest thing ever. And vice versa, for a woman to tell a man that there's always gonna be somebody there for you. It may take some time, it may be immediate, and I encourage anyone to take your time. Do not jump into anything. You need to relax, just be cool, get your emotions in check, figure out what you want to do instead of jumping into the next relationship, which is something that I've learned. You want to take your time. You don't just want to jump into these things. You just want to, there's nothing wrong with talking to people and things like that, but as far as a serious relationship, no, but there's eventually, whenever, there's always going to be someone there who wants to be with you and who will love you. So I learned that as well. It's not the end of the world. Not that I had a woe is me mentality, like no woman's going to want me. And it's not to me saying being arrogant, but I'm just saying I wasn't thinking like that. But some people do think like that. There's always going to be someone that's going to love you. People change. I learned that. People change. People will change on you. You have to be prepared for anything. There should be no shock and awe. That's what I learned about life in general, even to this day. There is no shock and awe. I don't put anything past anyone. Nothing. I don't put anything past anyone. Anybody can switch up. Anybody can change. And that's them. If that's what they want to do, that's what they do. It's just that you can't control people's behavior. I definitely learned that. That was one of the biggest things that I've learned. People will change and they will change up. And it's not about you, ultimately. You look at the marriage when this is going on, one-sided. It's not about you. It's about your happiness at the end of the day, but it's not completely about you with this divorce. Afterwards, it is definitely about you after the divorce and everything. But within a marriage, it's not about you. It's about both of you together. If you go in relationships, especially a marriage, to give. Afterwards, by all means, make it all about you. And that's what I had to learn afterwards, is to make it all about me. And some people go to the extremes, after it, and it's your life. I wouldn't tell anybody to hold back, but you have to do what you have to do to heal, to move on, things like that. And people move on. So those are the biggest things, other than, like I said, I'm happy for divorce. I'm happy what I learned. I couldn't have ascended. When I say ascended, if I would have still been married now, I don't think I would have learned so many things that I've learned I've been divorced for almost 4 years now. I don't think that I could have learned the amount of information and gained all the knowledge that I have now if not for that. If I would have still been married, I still would have been clueless about myself. I would have been clueless about what women really want, how to communicate with women, my shortcomings overall, what I needed to come to terms with, my insecurities, and just being a better person. I don't think I would have ascended into being a better person. So it was just a part on my story that I had to go through, I had to experience to come into who I am now, which I am so happy for. And for those of you watching who haven't gone through it, I encourage you, if you're going through this storm right now, just wake up smiling, do the best you can, try to communicate the best you can with this person. Divorce is expensive. Trust me, divorce is expensive altogether with all the fees and everything. I think mine came out to $15,000, and she could have signed the paper. It was only $200 something, but she turned it into $15,000 overall. But I learned that as well. So With that being said, if you're going through it, don't trip. Put your best foot forward. Do not revert to acting like a child in the courtroom. Be an adult. Be fair. Sometimes you have to negotiate to do what you don't want to do to get what you want, which is what I had to do, what a lot of us have to do. Trust me, life goes on. So with that being said, I hope that this video has been helpful to any of you that are watching. It got some stuff off my chest. Hopefully you learned from my story and kind of what I went through. It's not the end of the world. Life goes on, trust me. So if you like the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. Comment if you have your own experience. Make sure you hit that. I invite you to hit that subscribe button along with the bell. That way you receive all the notifications for all my future videos. And I wanted to make a special announcement really quickly to you guys. I also invite you to subscribe to my other YouTube channel, which is called The Hustler's Apprentice. So I decided to create this channel in reference to, because in the past on this channel I've kind of tried to throw things up against the wall to see if they stuck based upon our knowledge. We are all multifaceted, multi-dimensional people who have different gifts and passions and things like that. And I am, if you don't know, I do credit financing, and I'm also a realtor. And I've also worked several jobs in my life, as well as have experience in different things involved with that. So I wanted to offer this advice on a separate channel outside of this channel. That way, for those of you who are interested, you guys could check it out and learn some information, or hopefully I'm able to give you some valuable information on credit, financing, real estate, gigs, jobs, just hustle in general, what I like to call hustle. That's why I call it the Hustler's Apprentice. So the link will be in the description. I'll also try to put it up here at one of the end cards. That way you guys can click on it. I invite you to subscribe. It's a brand new channel. I haven't even put up my first video yet. Hopefully by the time you guys watch this, you'll see my intro video that I'm going to be shooting here shortly. And look out for content on that channel as well. So I appreciate you guys once again. Thank you. Thank you for always supporting and checking out my channel. If you have any topics you'd like me to discuss, feel free to comment them below. If you have any questions, feel free to comment or email them as well. If you want any advice, feel free to email me. All the links are in the description. And there should be some videos popping up here shortly with more information on this topic. Feel free to click on one of them to find out more. And with that being said, I wanted to say peace be upon you in the mercy and blessings of the Almighty. And remember, anything lost can be found again except for time wasted. I'll see you guys on the next video. I'm out. Peace.